us, tell our viewers, tell people in Florida, all right, there's a 90% certainty this is going right up through Miami. I mean, is there a time when we're going to know that?
No. There's not, and that's why you have to leave now. That's why you have to leave early, because all the models are doing this, 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 and then right there is the turn. Now, if the turn is here, that's Grand Bahama, that's Nassau, that's significant damage here. If the turn is here just a little bit late, then we've moved this thing 50 miles or 100 miles one way or the other. And still, at this hour, the Hurricane Center will tell you their average error is still 150 miles one way or the other. So, I mean, think about what 150 does either side of that line. Such a significant difference. But that's why you have to get out now if you're told to. That's why the evacuation notices are out there for some people. The rule of thumb is, you know, hide from the wind, run from the water. You know, we've heard this over and over and over throughout meteorological terms, but you almost need to run from 150. You know, I mean, if this is truly the story, where do you hide from 150? And that's why they talked about Andrew. Andrew came slamming into the U.S. coast right here at 150, and the people that died in Homestead and Coral Gables, they tried to hide, and it was tough. They got all those houses were knocked down. Now the building codes are different, but there are still some older building codes, houses still standing, of course.
You cannot bet one way or the other here. Listen to the officials in Florida. Do not wait. Get out if you are told to. Chad Myers, an important warning from you. Really appreciate it there. 6 million people in South Florida right now bracing for the possibility of that direct hit Chad just explained. Residents trying to stock up on food, fuel, water. Broward County, which includes Fort Lauderdale, is opening more than a dozen shelters today, obviously a few days before they're expecting the storm to hit.
Some parts of the county under mandatory evacuation that is beginning in just an hour and a half at noon Eastern today. The Florida State Senator Gary Farmer Jr. will join us on the phone right now. He's a Democrat representing the 34th District that includes parts of Broward. Thank you for being with us, especially at such a busy time for your community. When you look at a map, so much of Fort Lauderdale, for example, et cetera, Broward County is just, 3 feet or less above ground. It's a huge risk for these storm surges, sir, that we keep hearing are, upwards of 20 feet. What are you telling your residents?
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. And I just echo what your meteorologist Chad was saying. Residents need to heed these warnings, and that's the message we've been delivering. I happen to live in an evacuation zone. All of the areas east of US 1 are in mandatory evacuation zones. We have already left. We are on our way north, stopping in Orlando, going to track the storm, see which way it's going, and we may head farther north to Tallahassee. But well, you're exactly right. These storms can be unpredictable. We don't know where that turn is going to occur. And the downside of guessing wrong and deciding to stay when you've been told to evacuate can be devastating and can be life-threatening and life-taking. And so please, everyone, heed these warnings. Take this very seriously.
Senator, you were born and raised in Florida. You know what can happen in Florida. We keep hearing that Irma is bigger, faster, more powerful than Hurricane Andrew. And the reason officials are saying that is because it means something to Floridians. So when you hear that, what does it mean to you?
Well, it's scary because I did live through Hurricane Andrew, and that was a devastating storm, and you said it exactly right. This is bigger, stronger, and faster than Andrew was. And I worry a little bit that Floridians have developed a little bit of a sense of complacency. We've been fortunate in that until Wilma recently, which really didn't affect too much of Florida directly, we hadn't had a storm in 10 years. And so there's a lot of concern out there that for some folks, having gone 10 years without a major storm, that they've gotten a little complacent. And so that's why we are urging people to take this very seriously. And I think we've seen in the last 24 to 36 hours an increased sense of urgency with residents. People are stocking up, have been stocking up since Monday or Tuesday on gas, on water, et cetera. We need more supplies down here. I know the governor has been working with some of the companies to get more supplies, more fuel, more water to South Florida. But we just want to urge people to take this very seriously and don't gamble, because that gamble could cost you your life.
Very quickly, what about the people that cannot afford to evacuate, that can't afford a hotel room overnight, that don't have family to stay with, that can't afford the gas? What help is there for them?
Yes, additional shelters are being opened up all around Broward County and all around South Florida. There are evacuation guides that are in place for the evacuation routes, but if you cannot evacuate, take shelter in designated shelters. Many schools are being opened as shelters, but the key is you got to get hunkered down. If you can't leave, find your location soon. And when you're doing that, make sure you've got extra supplies of medicine. The governor's issued an order allowing for additional refills of prescription medication, even if your prescription is expired. Gather up enough water and food for at least 3 days. And importantly, if you own your home or you rent a home and you have insurance, make sure you take pictures. Take pictures of your belongings. Record what you've got. Because, insurance companies sometimes are not too cooperative when claims are made later on. And there are going to be a lot of claims made in the storm. So folks need to take those types of precautions as well. It's unfortunate. You got to think about that when you're trying to preserve life and safety. But, your possessions, are important. And we urge people to take some video or take some pictures so you've got a record of what you had.
All right, Senator Gary Farmer from Florida, from Broward County. Listen, thank you so much for being with us. Please stay safe in the days ahead.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your coverage.
All right, also this political development just into us. We are waiting for House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi to hold her weekly press conference, but a Democratic aide just told us that she spoke with the president this morning on the phone, and she asked him to tweet essentially what he just tweeted within the last hour about Dreamers. You'll recall the president wrote, "For all those DACA that are concerned about your status during the 6-month period, you have nothing to worry about. No action." She apparently, according to an aide, did not tell him exactly what to tweet, just a general message. Why does this matter? Because in the last 24 hours, the president seems to have really done a lot that Democrats have wanted.
Yes. Again, with the deal on the Harvey funding and the debt limit, the 3-month pause on that. We'll note the exact wording of that not all Democrats love right now, because it isn't true that nothing will happen to these DACA recipients in the next 6 months. If they do not renew their status, they could be in serious trouble. They could lose their protection over the next 2 years. So people have to be very careful about that. But again, the fact that he responded directly to Nancy Pelosi, I'm sure noticed in the House Speaker's office.
They're
right
on
now.
a first, it's Nancy and Chuck right now.
Chuck and Nancy, Don's best friend.
All right, so of course our top story is Hurricane Irma. We're all over this. A major concern for Florida right now is the hospitals, right? What happens to all of these patients down there? We're going to speak to someone who's running some of the big hospitals down there next.